It is the week of Xbox's Developer Direct, and we know that they will have 4 games there, 3 that we know of, and then 1 mystery game. But could there be more? It looks like there potentially will be. Now, this wouldn't be something that new from Xbox. They generally do give us a surprise at these Developer Directs, if you do remember, with the Hi-Fi Rush Shadow drop. So we could be looking forward to more than what they have announced, but still, it looks like it's going to be a pretty good show. PlayStation 6 is going to be coming out at some point in the next couple of years, even though the PS5 Pro just released, and it looks like the SoC is in pre-validation. There is a rumor going around for that, so we will take a look at that. Grand Theft Auto 6 will be the biggest game launched this generation. We know how big that franchise is. Could they charge more than the standard pricing for the game? And if they did, would people still buy it? I do think they would still buy, but there's an article going around that is talking about GTA 6 basically having the power to charge what they want for the game itself. Dragon Age: The Veilguard, Bioware, they lose a person there that's been there for a very long time, so we'll talk about that. And Respawn is going to be announcing a new Star Wars game, which is exciting, plus many other things. But before we continue, I see a lot of you do watch the video but aren't subscribed, about 50% of you. So if you could consider just hitting the subscribe button to help this channel grow, if you do enjoy the content, I would really appreciate that. Now let's jump right into the news. So as we know, Xbox is having the Developer Direct this week. It's going to be a big week, and there's lots of big games that are going to be shown off there, like Doom: The Dark Ages, South of Midnight, and Claire Obscure Expedition 33, that turn-based RPG that looks absolutely phenomenal. And then there will be a mystery game. From what we have heard, with the rumor going around right now for it, is that it's going to be a legendary Japanese RPG that will make people happy. So you have lots of expectations and rumors going out there. Could this be the announcement of Persona 6 at the Xbox Developer Direct? I mean, you sit back and you think about it. Xbox and Sega have a great relationship. You look at the marketing rates for Metaphor ReFantazio, getting the Persona games and Game Pass this year, and the game's finally launching on the platform. So maybe they just continue that relationship and give one of the biggest announcements ever, which would be Persona 6. It would be a new Ninja Gaiden game. There's so many things going around. Maybe they bring back Lost Odyssey or Blue Dragon or something with that would be huge for a lot of people. But those would be the 4 games that we're going to be able to see. But will there be a 5th game? Looks like potentially there will be a 5th game. And this comes via a tweet from Clobril, who lists the games here: Doom: The Dark Ages, South of Midnight, Claire Obscure Expedition 33, and then a surprise game. Again, that's that legendary Japanese IP that people are saying. And then you have Jez responding saying maybe more than one surprise too. And then you have Xbox Era here, John Clark saying, "God damn it, Jez," and him responding again with a maybe. But Jez has been right in the past. So no matter what you want to look at, he's been right on things. Obviously, he hasn't been 100%. He's been wrong on things as well. But he has a decent track record, in my opinion. And he is hinting here that potentially there will be a 5th game. Maybe he's heard something. Obviously, he's not going to say if he thinks 100% there will be or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do that, just one more thing at the end of the show, and then we get a look at another game that is either coming out this year, or maybe they announce a game that's in development that we have not heard of before. Again, I could see them doing this with the Oblivion remake or something along those lines. A game that we pretty much know is coming out. We pretty much know is in development and is probably closer to being done than further. And if they were to come out at the end of it and say, "We are also bringing this game to you guys," that would be huge. Maybe we see something from Halo Studios, something that we've been waiting for now. I think it's time for Halo Studios, or previously 343, to come out and show what they are working on. And will that be at the June showcase, or maybe they show it here at the end of the Developer Direct? I wouldn't expect a shadow drop. I wouldn't expect this to be a game that releases this year, but maybe it's a surprise announcement about a game that we really haven't seen and that we can be excited for going forward past 2025, because 2025 is stacked. And I don't know how they're going to fit all this stuff in and how everyone's going to play all the games Xbox has if they do deliver. So it's going to be an insane year, and I'm very, very excited for the Developer Direct. Let me know in the comments what you think a surprise game could be. Now, as we know, the PlayStation 5 Pro has obviously just come out, and it's been having some issues with the main selling points, at least in my opinion, which is PSSR. I mean, that is the reason why you buy a PS5 Pro, for that technology, to see how well they can do that upscaling. And AI is going to be the future for game consoles. We're seeing it come up everywhere, even with the new NVIDIA GPUs. That was the main thing they focused on with the upcoming RTX 50 series. Xbox will have some AI upscaling technology in their next console. It's going to be a huge thing here, I think, to keep costs down on these devices and still give great results for the next generation of game. They can't just continue to put more expensive hardware into consoles, because one of the main selling points of consoles is the price point. And if they get too high, I think $700 is already at that point, a lot of people just will move away from consoles and not end up buying them. So AI upscaling will be huge. PSSR has a lot to improve upon, and it will be big in the PlayStation 6, but we potentially are also getting some more information here about the SoC that will be in the PlayStation 6. And this comes via the NeoGAF forums, and the well-known AMD leaker Kepler L2 comments and says that the next generation system from Sony, the SoC is design complete. And they do say here that the PlayStation 6 GPU is a fork of AMD GFX 13, which was formerly known as RDNA 5 and is now known as UDNA. So this is just rumors about stuff that's coming out. We hear tons of rumors before the official announcements of the next generation, a couple of years before the announcement actually does come. One thing to keep in mind, and this will be the same with Xbox, is that a lot of these rumors are false. A lot of these rumors don't actually come to fruition. If you remember, before the launch of the PlayStation 5, you had guys out there saying that it was RDNA 3, and obviously it wasn't RDNA 3. That wasn't even something, I believe, that was released at the time of the PS5. So it just really made no sense, but you had a lot of big YouTubers and insiders and stuff pushing that stuff, and we're going to see a lot of this now before the release of the PlayStation 6. My bigger question is, when is the release of the PlayStation 6? PS5 Pro just came out. Are they going to be waiting 2 years, 3 years, 4 years before they have to jump over to the PlayStation 6? We are at a point of diminishing returns, and the hardware isn't going to be, I think, significantly better. It's all going to be about the AI upscaling and everything that pushes these next consoles. So how long do they wait to give PlayStation a new console, especially after releasing the PS5 Pro at $700? If they come out in 2 years with a PS6 and you just spend $700 on the PS5 Pro that's already having issues with things like PSSR, I feel like there's going to be people out there that are going to be annoyed that they spent the money on the PlayStation 5 Pro. All right, let's talk Dragon Age, the Veil card, and Bioware. Obviously, this was a big game for Bioware, very controversial as well, especially after some of the reviews came out. Some people hated it, some people loved it. It was one of those games that people were looking at as maybe Bioware's last chance. And obviously Mass Effect as well, as they're making that, so that may be their real last chance. But a lot of people were looking at Bioware and they just don't think it is the same as the glory days back when they were making the original Dragon Age, when they were making Knights of the Old Republic, and they were very much beloved. And one of the directors at the studio that's been there for a very, very long time is Connie Bush. And Connie Bush is now leaving Bioware after an 18-year career. So right now, from what we understand, that Connie Bush is leaving after not being able to pass up on a new opportunity. Connie Bush has also been one of those people that has been kind of pulled into the culture wars in many ways in video games, as a lot of people are looking at Connie as one of the reasons that BioWare has gone downhill with some of the writing in previous games. So you have a lot of people celebrating this and thinking that Connie just left or got fired or whatever, and it's a win for them. But from what we do understand here, it says Eurogamer received word after rumors started circulating the night before that she was in fact leaving the studio. At the heart of it, this was about my own fulfillment. I did what I set out to do at BioWare. That is to come in and help right the ship. I love Dragon Age and BioWare, so the chance to return the game to a proper quality single-player RPG was a privilege of a lifetime. And continues here and said, it was hard fought, as games with such tumultuous dev cycles rarely end up shipping and even more rarely turn out great. We as a team did it, and it was hard. It took a toll on me. BioWare still has a lot of work to do culturally, but I do believe they are on the right footing now. And as for me, my departure was voluntary. I have been presented with an opportunity I couldn't turn down. I don't want to say much more right now, but you can count on it being in the CRPG space and upholding the traditions of great characters. So there was a lot of stuff going on here. If you were on social media following this, you had, of course, there's the culture was always going on with video games nonstop. Every single game that gets released, pretty much there is some sort of culture war going on with it. But you have one side saying that Connie got fired and that Bioware Edmonton is being closed down, and potentially this is going to happen in February. Then you had the other side saying that Edmonton Bioware is not closing down. And then we have this saying that Connie left for a better opportunity that could not be turned down. So we'll see what happens here. But Bioware in and of itself, for a lot of people, is just a name at this point. It is nowhere near the Bioware that it used to be. And it's hard to disagree, especially with a lot of their recent releases. Now, I haven't played Dragon Age the Veilguard yet, so I don't want to make a judgment on the game without actually playing it first. But the one thing I will say is some of the stuff that we have heard about the responses and the writing, there's no actual pushback to your character, there's no negativity from your companions, does sound disappointing, but I will have to play it and see if all of that is actually true, because at this point in gaming, it is very hard to listen to other people talk about games, give their reviews, and not think, is there some sort of motive in this, in, again, the culture war side of things? Because it seems like, at least from my perspective, when I'm on social media, every single game has some sort of war going on. So it's hard to know if people actually play the game, if it's as bad as they say, or if it's as good as they say, all those types of things. So the best way to figure that out, obviously, is by playing it yourself. I'll eventually end up playing Dragon Age the Veilguard, as I have liked the previous games in the series. Now, another studio that I absolutely love and I think is still very great is Respawn. They are a gem at EA. I think they do phenomenal stuff. And Vince Zampella, the head there, is one of the best assets that they do have. And it looks like we are going to be seeing their next game, which will be a Star Wars RTS game, and it will be revealed in April. This comes via Timur222, who says, I got some details regarding the upcoming Respawn Star Wars RTS game. There will be a public announcement and trailer released during Star Wars Celebration in Japan, April 18th to 20th. AIM platforms are Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, and the Epic Store. The true lineup is to be determined. So very interesting here. They're releasing a new RTS game, which obviously is different than what Respawn generally works on, the first-person shooters, and you also have the Jedi series, which is a third-person action-adventure game. They're going off and they're straying off to an RTS game in the Star Wars universe. To me, that sounds pretty cool. Like, I will be very interested in what this game is like. Probably will end up checking it out because Respawn One is a great developer. RTS games, I enjoy some of them, and then we'll see what happens here in that universe, how they use Star Wars and make it a fun game. So April, during the Star Wars Celebration, is when you can expect the announcement for this upcoming Star Wars RTS game. Now, if you think physical games have any chance of surviving even in places or with certain styles of games that generally do better, well, everything is digital at this point. We have some information here about Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. It was Japan's only million-selling physical game last year, and that says a lot because of just the amount of games that did come out. This comes via Famitsu, who posted its annual Japan sales report for 2024, focusing mainly on physical software sales in Japan. And it says, according to Famitsu, the Switch and PS5 versions of Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake combined sold 1.16 million units, making it the only game last year to pass the 1 million mark for physical sales. It also points out that the Switch version accounted for 930,505 of those total sales, meaning that the PS5 version only sold around 230,000 copies for the physical version, and neither one of these sold 1 million each. And I mean, the Switch is definitely the console that is the most physical in terms of collectors, in terms of people buying their games. And that's just, I think, a couple of reasons. One, Nintendo games are just kind of more collectible in general for people who like to do that. I mean, I have a relatively decent Nintendo Switch physical collection. And two, it's just their infrastructure, their online infrastructure, the eShop, it's fine, but it's just not the same as what we get on PlayStation and on Xbox. And I think the Switch 2 will solve a lot of that. They'll probably have a much better interface and better, faster user interface on the eShop and all that type of stuff. And even with the Switch still selling physical games, I think with the Switch 2, you'll see those numbers get less and less. And it's unfortunate. I am a fan of physical games. I'm a fan of collecting physical games. I do have lots of questions about game preservation going forward, and how much a full digital era is going to affect that, because we basically, I mean, we've been told you're just buying a license and it can be kind of taken away from you at any time. At least with physical stuff, you do have that opportunity of getting some games that is fully on the disc, or with the Switch, there's more games that are fully on the cartridge. All right, GTA 6 we know is going to be the biggest game release this generation. It is one of those games that absolutely pushes hardware forward, getting people to go out and buy a console specifically to play this game. It's not releasing on PC right away. Eventually we'll get there, but people are going to be running out buying PlayStation 5s, PlayStation 5 Pros, Xbox Series X and S's to play Grand Theft Auto 6. And one of the things with Grand Theft Auto is they potentially have an opportunity, if they want to charge more than $80 for the video game or $70 for it, which hopefully they don't. But because this game is so big, I think they would be able to do it and people would still go ahead and buy it. And you have to ask yourself, because we've seen rumors previously about this, will GTA 6 come out at like a $100 price tag? Now, we have this information here, and this here is talking about potentially what they could do. And it says video game prices continue to be a bit sore of a subject. Unfortunately, those rising costs are leading to ballooning game budgets. And in a new presentation on the state of video gaming in 2025, analyst Matthew Ball hypothesizes a potential GTA price bump and what that could mean for other game companies. He says there's hope amongst the industry that publisher Take-Two will price GTA 6 at $80 or even $100. Thus allowing the rest of the market to move up and raise prices too. Now, obviously, gamers don't want this to happen. He says no player hopes for such a price hike in game prices, and the presentation showcases that the real term game prices have never been lower than they are today, accounting for inflation. But here's the thing. I mean, gamers ourselves have proven that we are willing to spend money on video games. And you see yearly releases like Madden, like Call of Duty, like FIFA. People spend $80, $100, depending on like what version of the games that they do get, $70, whatever it is. They spend that money on a yearly basis on these games. So that signal has been already sent out to the market. That's why you see price raises. That's why you saw the price go up $10 this generation versus last generation, because we have signaled that we are willing to spend this money on video games. If GTA 6 comes out at $100, I think it still will sell extremely well, and I think that will be a signal that other publishers could potentially price their games at 100. The thing I see though, however, is that GTA 6 is in a league of its own. If you see other publishers putting games out at 100, they will get significantly less sales. I don't know if it will be as lucrative and work as well as if GTA 6 were to do this, but the reality is maybe it will. And if people start buying games at $100 every time they're released, that will be signaling that now we're going to see that price going forward. They always show this cost of inflation and stuff and how game prices in real terms are actually lower than they have ever been. But you have to also look, I think, at the fact that there are way more people buying video games now than there were back in the day, back on like the Super Nintendo, N64, and those generations of consoles. So yes, prices relatively with inflation and everything in real terms haven't their lowest that they've ever been, but there's way more people buying and purchasing video games. And on top of that, in a lot of these video games, there's microtransactions and there's all these other things where they nickel and dime you. So every time you see that argument and people saying, oh, game prices are actually lower than they've ever been, I think it's missing a lot of context and how publishers and developers and everything, how they put in these practices in their video games to make sure that they are making more money than ever, even with being able to keep the prices low. But if GTA 6 does sell a lot at $100, I wonder if we would see other publishers try to do this. I don't think they'll be as successful, but they will try. They'll try to make as much money off of each gamer as possible. But I'm in the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button if you like daily gaming news. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. We'll be right back.